not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs.
Yo, yo, yo. We are back at it. It is Thursday, June 6th. Time marches on. Sorry for the delay. I think I'm still a little crooked than the camera. Let me adjust that real quick. Sorry. Logistics. We don't want a crooked video. So since it's live, I can't change it. Thought we had it, but it kind of slipped down. If you came to the studio, you see everything that I have going on here, where I'm trying to maintain some type of decor. Welcome back. As I say, this is a No PC show. We are tonight continuing our session of, this will be the last fallen hero selection that we do, not hero, but fallen icon. We started with Gil Scott Heron and his genius and his fall. Then we moved on to Huey P. Newton, and we talked about his rise and his fall. And today we're going to talk about Tupac Shakur. And a good place to start would be the same place we left off with Huey. Huey was a Black Panther. Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, was also a Black Panther. She was actually one of the Panther 21 who were arrested on conspiracy charges. And I think this was the way the government finally broke the Panthers. The Panthers 21 were like that select group of Panthers that had special abilities to motivate people to raise capital, to push forth the party plans. And they were all arrested and placed in jail for about 18 months. Tupac's mother, Afeni, was a legal aid, or she had some type of legal experience. And instead of allowing the white establishment to provide her with a public defender or something like that, she defended herself and told the other Panthers, hey, it's going to be you sitting in jail if you let these people defend yourself, so you might as well defend yourself. And lo and behold, all of the 21 were acquitted of any charges. Charges were bogus anyway, but it's the quickest way to destroy someone is to divide and take out the leadership. I mean, that's what they've been doing in America for years. She was, I think she was in prison from 1969 to May 1971. And then in June, she was released, and that's when she had Tupac Shakur, June 16th, 1971. So he had this great startup. I'll consider it great. America won't consider it great because of how they felt about the Panthers. And it's always weird. You always have so many others that will go along with America's narrative about our leaders. They'll tell you that Malcolm X was bad. They'll tell you that King was bad, an adulterer, or whatever they want to say about him. They'll say that the Black Panthers were bad. And so many of us will go along with that and try to hide that we reverence these people in some way. So Tupac's mother was pregnant in jail. Upon her release, Tupac was born, and he was raised around the Black Panther Party as it existed. He was one of those kids, like we were dragged to church, he was dragged to Black Panther meetings. And he surely picked up some things as a young man from being around Tupac Shakur and others, Geronimo Pratt and others like that were still out and part of the party, and able to introduce this young man to a different side of life, not allowing him to be brainwashed at an early age. I think this is what helped to give him his charisma that he developed. So they were very poor and moved from place to place, and unfortunately, and we need to probably investigate, how did so many of the positive Black Panthers wind up on drugs? But Afeni said she was actually doing drugs before she became a Panther, and then when she met Mutula Shakur and started visiting some meetings with him, and the Panthers were showing Black people to have a different mindset, a different thought process, that she cleaned up her life. I mean, she kind of went back and forth a few times, but if you know anybody with a drug addiction, that's something that happens a lot. His father was basically not around, so his mother tried to provide everything that she thought a young man would need. And Tupac didn't grow up a thug. He went to a arts school. There he met Jada Pinkett. They formed a relationship from being at that school, and then they moved on from there. She went her direction, he went his direction, but they both had growing careers. So what happened to this young man that he had to die like a gangster? What does that even mean? Why are you dying like a gangster if you're making money? You're taking care of your family. Why? He kind of seems like he was a lost soul, even though sometimes it can appear you have everything around you in life that you need and want. I think this young man still was in search of himself as well as love. And I'm not too sure about the relationship between him and Quincy's daughter. They were hanging out. I don't know if the relationship was at that point where he was actually claiming her. But it's just interesting, and I always tell young people, you have to be careful with what you do and how you do it. It's got nothing to do with being a punk or anything like this. It's got to do with living life. And Tupac said that on multiple occasions when he got in a fight with the Hutchison brothers, I think that's their names, on the set of Menace to Society. He was supposed to play O-Dog, But, he got in a fight, wound up doing 15 days in jail and some community service. And he came right out of the court saying, hey, it wasn't worth it. Then he went to jail on a rape charge. You're out here having a good time, or so you think. There's a part in the new movie that's coming out next week, and his mother tells him they're going to give you the tools to destroy yourself. That's what America does. So we have Tupac here. He's kind of like double-minded. He's very conscious, but at the same time, he's participating in the unconsciousness of the rap world. He's conflicted. When he was in jail on this rape, I think he had like $1 million bond or whatever. People were coming to see him. Madonna came to see him. A couple other people came to see him, but they didn't put up the money that he needed to get out. In comes Suge Knight, and he makes a deal with the devil. I always thought it was four albums that he promised him, but other people said it was 3. So he signed the contract, and Suge got him released from jail. And then Suge started molding him into this really extra thug life type of character. This what kind of led to the dismissal, or that led to Dre leaving. It became an unproductive atmosphere. Nobody want to hear that thug life shit 24/7 all day. No, sorry if I hurt some thugs' feelings. A lot of times that in this culture, they try to convince you that a lot of behavior is okay when it's not. We all have to have a social conscience and think of what we do and what we say and how it affects other people, especially younger people that are more impressionable. If they see you doing dumb shit, then they probably going to do some dumb stuff. If they hear you saying certain things, they may say certain things. They see you doing drugs, they may do drugs. So a lot of people in that thug life, they love Pop because he could relate that story. Great storyteller, great writer. He was constantly in the studio, constantly with a pad. He wasn't really out here chasing the girls like a lot of other ones. I mean, he had his girls, but he wasn't out chasing constantly. He loved to be in the studio. And he was working hard to get beyond this contract he signed with Suge for these 3-4 albums. So he came out with the double album. He came out with the Machiavelli. And, it's always rumors. Nobody knows what's what. Some people said Suge set him up. No, he made a bad decision. Sometimes when you're pretending to be what you're not and you run into the real thing, the consequences can be deadly. So they're at the Tyson fight, the Sheldon Tyson fight. Supposedly that's supposed to be to have a good time. And you allow one of the entourage, one of the death row flunkies or whatever, to whisper in your ear about some other dude that took a medallion. You all hyped up from the fight. You and this whole entourage go and attack this one guy. This guy was in the street for real. Orlando Anderson was a real thug. And the real thug don't give a damn. He ain't eating like you. So you brought the streets to your doorstep. And just like that, it got real. and your life was gone. A lot of people don't think about it like that. That you're out here doing this stuff, you don't think about how it affects your family. If something happens to you, the grief that your mother's going to feel. What she's going to be left to pick up the pieces. And Feeney, I mean, she recently passed, like, was that last year she passed? Had a heart attack. I think she was 60, 67 or 68, something like that. And she had finally put together back her son's legacy because it was so much, she said, that they would talk about. And they were close. And we all loved the Dear Mama song and all the truth that was in that song. Even when she was messing up, he still held on to it, held her down. Even when he tried to get out in the streets and do something and make a little money, he put a little money in her mailbox. He knew that life wasn't for him. And so he was a son given this responsibility, or feeling like he had a responsibility, like every man should feel some type of responsibility in their life for their family. And then people will question you on why you do something. And the responsible man will always say, hey, I had to do that for my family. That was the sacrifice I had to make, no matter how crazy it may sound to you. You don't put food on my table, I put food on my table. So if it's dire straits and things need to be done, being raised as a man says you do it. That's what manhood is really about. Manhood isn't about going to jail. Manhood is about staying out of jail. Manhood is about taking care of your family, putting them in a safe place to live. So he felt these type of things, and he saw his mother with men, and the men would put their hands on her. So that had an adverse effect on them also. Why would she stay with these people? So he's kind of growing up real fast. What's that Donna Goins poem? I love it. It's called, I think it's called The Devil's Creed. It says, the devil's creed says the strong must feed on any prey at hand. I sat at the feast and was branded the beast before I became a man. That's basically saying you were exposed to so much so soon, and you didn't know how to handle what was given to you. I had this nice little piece that I saw on Tupac Shakur. She's talking about other things that happens, the trappings of life that happened to Tupac, and how he thought he was living one way and thought he had given him a sense of the American dream. And this was something that they never had, but in reality, he didn't have anything. So a lot of times we got you guys out here selling drugs and doing this and this, and you think you balling, you flossing, and you can buy a little something in this. Then you wind up doing 12 years in jail, losing all that productive time that you could have been running your own business or working a job, and you wind up with the same amount of money that you would have made if you would have just stayed out here and worked that job or worked that business. That's why the game is crazy. It's very seldom anybody gets out Tony Montana style. But let's check out this video about Feeney.
It's nice out here, man. The American dream, man. The American dream, thug style.
Whatever might have been said about his thug style and rough lyrics, Tupac Shakur's gangster rap music made him a huge star. And at the time of his death, He had every reason to think he had finally made it. Big houses, fancy cars, beautiful women, and lots of money.
What does a thug yearn for? Success and to be respected.
He absolutely thought he was quite rich and that his family would, you know, be rich forever. Remember that my great-grandmother was a slave. My grandmother was a sharecropper. My mother was a factory worker, and I was a legal worker. Do you understand? And so this represents the first time in our life, in our memory, ever, that we have been able to enjoy the American dream, and that's what Tupac brought to his family.
Now, we was once...
I'd say that the entertainment business is a business of prostitution and thievery, and that was rampant around my son's talent, you know.
That's
Out and said that Tupac had stopped breathing 3 times, and they had revived him 3 times, and that every time they revived him, he just went back, and I asked them to leave him alone and to let him go. I really felt it was important for Tupac, who fought so hard to have a free spirit. I felt it was important for his spirit to be allowed to be free, you know? And so I rejoiced with him and with the release of his spirit. I rejoiced then and I rejoice now when I'm not crying.
quick to...
That's a mother's love. I mean, imagine how she felt my son, who seemed to be going down that wrong track, has found some happiness in the world, and she knew how he felt on the inside and how he hadn't found that happiness, but he was looking for that happiness. And so you figure a lot of people, I think that's the premise of life, to find a level of happiness. And it's so hard for us as black folks in America to find and keep that piece of happiness, because there's so many stipulations on your life. And in order for you to find that corner of life, I know a lot of successful black people, they own big houses, they own boats. But when you hang out with them, you find they're not happy. I mean, they may be a little content. Okay, I get to live in this nice house. I don't have to deal with all the social economic problems of my people. But that's got to make you say it right there. Most time you get something, we move away from our people. Are we moving away from our people? Or are we just moving away from the situations? You shouldn't be imprisoned in your neighborhood. So unless we change those neighborhoods, I know my church is working on something, but he says it's going to take a year to get in place. But as I did the Village Report before, it's going to take a whole lot. We got to get rid of some things. We got to bring in other things so we can get these young men off the corners. We have to show them a different way. That's what happens in white society. They don't throw away a lot of people. They actually try to work with them. You're not going to sell these drugs, Billy. You're not going to do it. I've got plenty of opportunities for you. If you want to work, I can put you in there. But you're not going to sell drugs. Not in my neighborhood. You're not going to do it. Notice how it became an issue when a lot of white kids were ODing, and now they got this drug to revive you. Why aren't those kids going to jail for long periods of time like the people that's doing crack or selling crack? Isn't heroin a drug? Heroin's been around way longer than crack. But like I always say, there's conditions built into society to destroy you. As Afeni says in the movie, they will give you the tools to destroy yourself. Afeni stands for lover of people. That's what her name stands for. Her original name was Alice Faye Williams. I like Afeni better. But that's something that a lot of people need to understand, especially our youth. They will give you the tools to destroy yourself. But Tupac was given the tools to help and develop. And he allowed himself to go sideways. What inside of him changed? I think he felt abandoned in that prison. I think he felt scared in that prison. He talked about praying every day, reading. He read Machiavelli. The book is actually called the Prince of Machiavelli. If you want a copy, email me at the show 1965@yahoo.com. I'll send you the PDF for the book. So this book enlightened him, and he came out on fire, and he was happy to be out. And within a short amount of time, he was dead. So from the time he was at the school at the age of 17, talking positive, talking about respecting women, talking about improving community, within 9 years he would be dead on the pavement, on the street, dying in the same manner that he sung about. And that's the sad part. What good does it do to be intelligent, positive, charismatic, to have leadership qualities that cause a lot of people to follow? I love this music. I still play his music. We're talking 20 years later. He would have been, 47 on the 16th? Think what he could have became if he didn't get caught up in that thug life. Love, peace. So we out of here.
You have to be logical. You know, if I know that in this hotel room they have food every day, and I'm knocking on the door every day to eat, and they open the door, let me see the party, let me see like them throwing salami all over just like throwing food around. Well, they're telling me there's no food in here. You know what I'm saying? Every day, I'm standing outside trying to sing my way in. You know what I'm saying? We are hungry, please let us in. We are hungry, please let us in. After about a week, that song is going to change to, we hungry, we need some food. After 2-3 weeks, it's like, give me all the food, breaking out the door. And after a year, and you just like, you know what I'm saying? I'm picking the lock, coming through the door, blasting, you know what I'm saying? It's like you hungry, you reached your level, you don't want any more. We asked 10 years ago. We was asking with the Panthers. We was asking with them, with civil rights movement. We was asking. Now those people that were asking, they're all dead and in jail. So now what do you think we're going to do? And we shouldn't be angry. And my raps that I'm rapping to my community shouldn't be filled with rage. You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't be filled with the same atrocities that they gave to me. In the media, they don't talk about it. So in my raps, I have to talk about it. And it just seems foreign because, you know what I'm saying? So it's like all the society is doing is leeching off the ghetto. They use the ghetto for their pain, for their sorrow, for their culture, for their music, for their happiness, for their movies, to talk about boys in the hood. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be I don't want to be 50 years old at a BET We Shall Overcome Achievement Awards. You know what I'm saying? Not me. You know, I want when they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. I don't know how to change it, but I know if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody